funky fees, funky reads.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my March reading wrap up. I read 3 books this month, the first being Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This is a romance book. I guess you would say it's a small town romance. It's kind of like an opposites attract. So we're following Alexis and Daniel. Alexis is a big hotshot doctor, big city, born into a very, very, very wealthy family of doctors who have very high expectations of her, and she's not long out of a toxic long-term relationship. And then on the opposite side of the spectrum we have Daniel. Well, yeah, just the opposite. He's from a small, very small town where everyone knows everyone. He has a real sense of community and pride in doing his bit for the community. He's just a good person, and he kind of grew up with that community and loyalty and morality, is that the word? And not a lot else. So they're kind of it's not an expected romance between the two of them, but it's a very real romance. And I really enjoyed it. I loved the romance of it. I thought they made a great couple. I really, really liked Daniel. I quite liked Alexis, but I found her a little bit harder to relate to, I guess. I don't know what word I'm looking for. I didn't relate to her at all. My parents are beautiful and they would accept any partner I brought home. Alexis's parents are extremely judgmental and critical of anyone who's not one of them, basically, and Daniel is very much not one of them. I found it a little bit, which I think this is a me thing because it's a common theme in a lot of romance books, but when they're so in denial of their feelings for one another or the idea that it could possibly ever work out between them, and you as the reader are like, it's obvious that you can and will end up together, but to just go on about it for so long and withhold that happiness from yourself, I find it annoying. Like, what a waste of time. And Alexis did that a lot, and I can tolerate it in small amounts, but for me that went too far into the book. Obviously, as you could probably imagine, she overcomes those feelings in the end. And it did have a feel-good feeling at the end, happy ending, but it wasn't an easy ride, basically. But yeah, this was a really lovely little romance. Obviously, I can't really judge because, like I said, I've never been in that situation. My parents are not like that. Alexis is trying to navigate several abusive and negative relationships. I'm lucky enough that I haven't really had to do that. So maybe I was being a bit insensitive to that fact, I don't know. But I just found it a little bit irritating the way she was just blatantly lying to herself about it, but maybe that was a cover mechanism, I don't know. But like I said, on the whole, really enjoyed this, and I definitely want to read the next one, which is yours truly, I believe, which follows Alexis's best friend Brie and her own romance. And I'll probably read a few other Abby Jimenez books too, and that's that. Four stars. Next, I read my poll winner book of the month, which was Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. I got this for my birthday back last summer and have been really wanting to read it, but my sister borrowed it and had it for a while, which is fine. So I've been like waiting for it, anticipating it really highly, and that was maybe a bit lethal. I did really enjoy it. I found it very, very slow to get into. The start was boring. It just was straight up boring to me, but I really enjoyed it by the end. I think I don't know what I wanted it to be, but it wasn't. Does that make sense? I don't know. I just love women and feminism, and stories about women and women's experiences. Feminism are really important to me and, just in my opinion, to the world. I think some of the situations that Elizabeth found herself in could be seen as extreme or dramatic, but I actually think they were quite accurate and realistic experiences that women have, and experiences of sexism. depictions of sexism and all that stuff. But I didn't come away from it feeling empowered, which some books like that do make me feel. But then again, those are usually non-fictions like Women Don't Know You're Pretty, How to Think Like an Activist, We Are the Weather. Those are all books that are like aligned with pre-existing values of my own, but really kind of lit a fire inside me. And this book didn't do that. I didn't come away from it wanting to channel my inner Elizabeth Zott. But that might be because it's fiction versus non-fiction, I don't know. But I did really enjoy it. I enjoyed it once the first kind of third was over. And I rated this 3.75 stars. And finally, I read probably my favourite book of the year so far. I rated it 4.75 stars, and that was The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I didn't read this when I was younger, I don't think. I found this in the back of my wardrobe when I was packing to move, and I had a bookmark at page 33. So I obviously didn't get very far through it before. I picked this up because my TBR jar prompt for the month of March was a book in a series, and I had this one, and I also had the rest of the series apart from the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but I will probably be getting my hands on that at some point. And I flew through this. I was into it straight away, which after reading Lessons in Chemistry, which took me a while to get into, it just felt so nice to open a book and from the very beginning be like, boom, I'm in this story and I want to read it and I want to know what's going on. I finished this in 3 days, which is very, very fast for me. Granted, I was off work for those 3 days, but still, I chose to spend that time reading. I wanted to pick up the book, I wanted to know what was happening, and I just really enjoyed it. It was just so good. I was never a Hunger Games stan back in the day. I had watched the first film, which I think I said this when I spoke about The Fault in Our Stars as well, but I find that helpful because I can picture the characters, and there were 2 milestone moments that I could remember, which were the flowers and the berries. That's all I'll say. But other than that, the rest of it all felt very new and unfamiliar to me, which just made it really exciting. But because I could picture the characters, I felt more immersed in the story. Obviously, because like I said, the rest of it I couldn't remember. They didn't feel like spoilers. I just really loved this book. It was only the very, very, very end where it fell for me, and I can't really remember why. But I didn't finish the book feeling like, wow, I finished it like, oh, okay. Where I finished probably the chapter before the last chapter, like, wow. And then I read the last chapter or 2 and I was like, okay then, that's the end. Which was a little bit disappointing. And the other thing that I hated about it was, didn't like, the way she talked about kissing. Like, this is YA, and it was only in those sentences that you could tell, but every time she talked about a kiss, she was like, maybe it was all that kissing last night, or like, oh, what? Not all that kissing, maybe it was the kissing. Like, every single time she used the word kiss, it felt like, anyway, probably not every time, it was the noun verb version. I don't know what that is actually called, but it was like, the kissing. This wouldn't be an appropriate time for kissing, and like stuff like that. And I was like, ugh. It felt very immature in that way. But then that is reflective of Katniss. She's only 16, I think. She's never had any kind, like, experienced or wanted to experience any kind of intimacy. So it does make sense, but I didn't like that part of it. But the book on the whole, loved it. Really loved it. Went straight into the next one. Finished that and went straight into the next one, which I'm currently reading now. So my thoughts will be coming on those. And that is all I read for March this month. Does that make sense? And that's everything I read in March this month. I'm really behind on my Granny Squares, so I might actually go and do a few now. But I haven't done Granny Square for any of those, or this. Oh. I'm using it as a tripod, so never mind. My Animals and Other Family, which I started and DNF'd last month, but I think I found a pattern that I'm going to use for that Granny Square. And then I think what I thought I would do is just like put a red cross over it to show that I DNF'd it or something like that. So that's my plan. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!